What if I told you that the end times have already begun, but the world continues living as if nothing is happening? What if I revealed to you that there is a hidden, ancient, spiritual, silent decree being activated right now, and that this decree has a specific target: black people? You may never have heard this in your church, in history books, or in traditional Bible study circles. But today, at this very moment, what is at stake is much greater than politics, economics, or religion. What is underway is the fulfillment of a hidden plan, written between the lines of Scripture, disguised by modern theology, but visible to those with open spiritual eyes. There is a prophecy, a pact, a judgment, a cycle that repeats itself. And all of this points directly to a people who, for centuries, were enslaved, silenced, erased from history, but who were never left unobserved by the spiritual world. That people is the black people. This is not about ideological discourse. We are talking about spiritual identity, about connection with the Scriptures, about revelations hidden in the subtext of the Bible, and above all, about a prophetic decree that is being activated silently while many are distracted. A decree that marks the end times, a decree that activates judgment upon the nations, a decree that reveals who the true heirs of the promises are and who is being prepared to rise up in the darkest moment of human history. Have you ever wondered why black people, all over the world, suffer such intense attacks? Spiritual, social, economic, and emotional. Why are they always at the bottom of the pyramid? Why do the structures of the world seem to conspire to keep these people alienated, confused, and without identity? The answer may lie in a place few have dared to explore, in forgotten prophecies, in apocryphal books, in forbidden texts, in the hidden records of the Bible itself, in revelations that have never been taught in conventional pulpits because they challenge the system, because they point to a truth that has been silenced, but which is now beginning to resonate powerfully. In this video, you will understand why so much evidence, spiritual, biblical, historical, and cultural, points to a connection between black people and the ancient Hebrews. You will discover how certain curses described in Deuteronomy 28 perfectly coincide with the trajectory of enslaved black Africans. You will learn about a side of the Bible that almost no one wants to show, the side that speaks of dispersion, of stolen identity, of prophecies that are being fulfilled before our very eyes. You'll realize that what's at stake isn't just faith, it's destiny, it's legacy, it's the hidden truth about who you really are, and what that means for the future. Throughout this video, we will discuss 10 revelations that connect black people to prophetic times. We will talk about the mystery of the forgotten peoples, about the hidden decree and who activated it, about signs of the end times that are being ignored, about the evidence that has been hidden from history, about the forbidden side of spirituality, about the spiritual awakening that is beginning to happen, silently, in many black hearts around the world. But before we delve into these points, I invite you to open your mind, to set aside everything you've been taught for just a few minutes, because what you're about to hear can completely change the way you see the world, the Bible, and especially yourself. And before we move on to the deeper revelations that can transform your view of the times we are living in, I need to ask you something very important. If this content is already making you think, if you feel something inside you awakening, then comment below. I am awake. It's that simple. Write that down. Because when you comment, you not only show that you're engaged, you activate the algorithm so that more people receive this truth. This message needs to reach those who are spiritually asleep. And every comment, every like, every share is a way to break through that bubble of silence. So, leave yours now. Like now. Because this shows YouTube that this video has value and helps spread the word. And if you're not already subscribed to the channel, sign up now and turn on notifications, because the next videos will continue to unveil these hidden prophecies, forgotten secrets, and truths they never told you, but that you need to know before it's too late. This is the moment of awakening, and it begins with a simple gesture. Comment, like, subscribe, and stay with me until the end of this video. Since ancient times, spiritual decrees have been used as divine instruments, and at the same time, as weapons of invisible control over entire nations. Most people think of decrees as merely human laws, the rules of kings, or the commandments of rulers. But in the Bible, decrees go far beyond that. They are words released in the heavens, fulfilled on earth with frightening precision. And when these decrees are hidden, when they are released behind the scenes of the spiritual world, the consequences affect peoples who don't even know they are living under an invisible sentence. Have you ever wondered why certain peoples carry such deep pain throughout history? Why are there nations that seem to live under a cloud of collective suffering, generation after generation? It's not just a historical coincidence. It's not just colonization, nor just structural racism. There is something deeper, spiritual decrees that were pronounced in the past and that remain active to this day. And one of these decrees, perhaps the most ignored of all, was released upon a specific people, the true descendants of the 12 tribes of Israel. Throughout the centuries, the world has heard only one version of who the heirs of the promise would be. But what if that version is incomplete? What if the true descendants of the tribes of Israel are peoples who were scattered, enslaved, marginalized, and prevented from knowing their own identity? Black people, especially descendants of the African diaspora, carry spiritual and historical marks that coincide with the curses described in Deuteronomy 28. And this is not just personal interpretation. These are parallels that have been systematically studied, pointed out, and silenced. The biblical text clearly states that if the people strayed from the laws and the covenant, they would be taken to other nations on ships, sold as slaves, dispersed among the peoples, and would lose their language, culture, identity, and name. Which people in human history has this happened to? Which other people were removed from their territory, placed on slave ships, sold as merchandise, forbidden to speak their language, worship their God, and forced to adopt the religion of the oppressor? These questions are unsettling, and precisely for that reason, they are avoided. The spiritual identity of Black people has been hidden for centuries, not by chance, but strategically. Strategically employed by empires, organized religions, and especially a system that has an interest in keeping these people disconnected from who they truly are. Because when a people discovers its spiritual identity, it awakens. And when it awakens, it becomes dangerous to the system. The idea of the end times that many people have is based on natural disasters, wars, and the apocalypse described with beasts and dragons. But the Bible speaks of something even deeper. The end times, from a spiritual perspective, is the end of a cycle of domination. It is the awakening of a people to the truth. It is the moment when the last will be the first. It is the time when those who were in the shadows will be brought into the light. Therefore, understanding what is happening spiritually with Black people today is essential, because the scriptures do not only speak of physical Israel, they speak of spiritual Israel. And if the true descendants were scattered among the nations, then it is among the nations that this identity will be restored. Many scholars avoid addressing this subject because it is explosive, because it breaks with what has always been taught, because it exposes the manipulation of religious systems that, throughout history, have used the Bible to keep people imprisoned, instead of liberating them. The religious, political, and economic elite have always known that knowledge is power, but spiritual knowledge is even more dangerous. And so, they hid it, adapted it, cut books, censored revelations, and constructed a distorted European Christianity that has nothing to do with the Hebrew and African roots of the original faith. The white representations of biblical characters, the European iconography of Jesus, the absence of an African narrative within the scriptures, all of this was a strategic construction. Because if Black people know that they have deep spiritual roots, that they carry in their blood the promises of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and that the prophecies speak directly to them, the system loses control. Because what keeps people captive today are not physical chains, they are mental, spiritual, and ideological chains, and these chains need to be broken. That's why the current religious system silences this type of study, because it threatens the power structure, because it reveals that modern churches are often teaching a diluted gospel, disconnected from its original roots, and more than that, it reveals that the people who should be at the center of biblical revelation are the same people who have been pushed to the periphery of faith, the same people who today fill the churches, sing, pray, fast, but don't know who they really are. But the truth is beginning to emerge, and it is like a fire. When someone discovers that their story has been stolen, something burns inside. A cry is born in the soul, and that cry echoes in the spiritual world. And it is that cry that is activating now, in this time, what many call the end times. It's not the end of the world. It's the end of silence. It's the end of spiritual ignorance. It's the end of the lie about who's who in sacred history. And from this awakening, everything changes. The way we read the Bible changes. The way we see ourselves before God changes. The way we pray, resist, fight, exist, changes. Because finally, the pieces of the puzzle begin to fit together. And perhaps that's why you're here now. Because you feel that this truth can no longer be ignored. Because even if a part of you has doubts, another part is being touched by something greater. And that's what matters. You don't need to believe everything right now, but feel it, perceive it, observe it. Because this video isn't here by chance, neither are you. There is a time for everything, and perhaps your time to awaken is today. By the way, if you've stayed with me this far and feel that this message is activating something within you, write it in the comments below. I am waking up. This simple phrase may seem small, but in the spiritual world it has power. And here, on this channel, it shows that you are alive, that you are listening, that you are awakening to a reality greater than anything you have been told until now. And if you know someone who also needs to know this, comment their name below. Don't wait. Sometimes, a word is all it takes to ignite a soul. Because the end times are not the end of hope. It's the beginning of revelation, and it is only just beginning. Have you ever noticed how some nations shine in history books, are celebrated, studied, honored, while others are simply ignored, erased, forgotten? Entire peoples whose names have been replaced by generic labels, peoples whose origins have been mixed up, their memory destroyed, and their contribution to civilization completely silenced. There is a profound mystery behind these forgotten peoples, a purposeful silence, a carefully orchestrated erasure. And that's where we begin to find the thread that connects Black people to the ancient Hebrews. According to the Bible, the Hebrew people were an oppressed, dispersed, marked, and separated people, but at the same time, chosen. They were a people with sunburnt skin, who lived in tents, who wandered the desert, who fled empires, who were constantly enslaved and freed, in a cycle that repeated itself from generation to generation. When you look at the history of Black people, especially those of the African diaspora, the similarities are disturbing. In biblical accounts, we see descriptions of a people whose spiritual identity was linked to an eternal covenant with the Creator. But we also see this same people violating that covenant and being punished, not with the forgetting of God, but with dispersion. And I will scatter you among the nations, says the sacred text, and there you will serve other gods, gods that neither you nor your fathers have known. Who are these who were scattered, who lost their original identity, who began to serve strange gods, imposed religions, systems that did not respect their roots? The Bible had already prophesied this long before history recorded slave ships, chains, whippings, and slave markets. The apocryphal books, those removed from modern versions of the Bible, speak even more clearly about these prophecies. In texts like the second book of Esdras, we find phrases such as, "They were taken to a distant land where no one had ever lived, to keep their statutes there," a reference that many scholars link to the transatlantic crossing and the forced arrival of Black Hebrews to the American continent. But why were these texts removed? Why isn't this evidence taught? Because they challenge the dominant narrative. They reveal that the official story that has been told until now is only part of the truth. It is impossible to ignore the parallels between ancient Jewish customs and many African traditions that persisted even after centuries of slavery. In several African cultures, there was the custom of the Sabbath as a day of rest. There was the circumcision of boys on the 8th day. There were dietary rules similar to those in the book of Leviticus. There was reverence for the name of a single, invisible, and powerful God, and sacrificial practices reminiscent of Old Testament rituals. How can this be explained in peoples considered primitive by the European colonialist view? Where did this knowledge come from? Knowledge that was never taught by Christian missionaries. This connection is more than a coincidence. It's a trace, a red thread that links Black people to their forgotten past. And more than that, it's living proof that, even amidst pain, the essence of who you are is never completely lost. It lies dormant, hidden, but alive. If you look at old maps, you'll see that the region where most Africans were captured and taken into slavery, West Africa, was known in some historical documents as the Land of Judah. That's right. Nautical charts, colonial records, and maps of European exploration clearly bear the name Kingdom of Judah in that region. Is this really a coincidence? Or did those who captured them know exactly who they were taking? Many believe that black people, especially those who came from Africa to the Americas, are direct descendants of the lost tribes of Israel. Tribes that fled persecution, crossed the desert, migrated south, and remained there until they were captured by men who did not know God, but who were used as instruments of prophetic fulfillment. This theory, called by some African Hebraism, has been studied, discussed, and even rejected by traditional religious institutions. But why so much discomfort with this idea? Because if it is true, it changes everything. It changes the way the world sees black people. It changes how the Bible is interpreted. It changes the understanding of who the true Israelites are, who the Gentiles are, and who the faithful remnant is that would be raised up in the last days. The truth is that black people are not merely descendants of African kings and queens, as many like to say, to regain self-esteem. It goes beyond that. The origin is spiritual, the identity is prophetic, and that carries weight, because the people who carry a spiritual heritage also carry a spiritual responsibility. Throughout the centuries, everything has been done to erase this connection. They changed names, they changed languages, they changed gods, they changed customs, but they couldn't erase the blood, and the blood speaks. The blood cries out from the earth, the blood of those who were unjustly killed, the blood of those who were sold as merchandise, the blood of those who wept and cried out for liberation. This blood is still active, and it demands an answer. That is why, all over the world, black people are awakening. They are seeking to learn more about the origins of their faith. They are discovering that there is a connection between what they have always felt spiritually and what is written in the scriptures. They are rediscovering symbols, rituals, words, and gestures that seemed lost, but were just waiting for the right time to resurface. And that time is now. This mystery of the forgotten peoples is not just about history, it's about destiny. It's about a generation being called to restore what has been broken, to reclaim the covenant, to recover the inheritance. And this is not easy, because when a people awakens, the enemies stir. But the awakening has already begun, and no one can stop what God has decided to reveal. If you've made it this far and feel that something inside you is responding to these words, as if an old memory is being activated, comment below. I remember, even if you don't understand everything yet. Even if it seems strange or new, just write, I remember, because it may be that your soul is simply recognizing what your mind hasn't yet understood. And that's the beginning of everything. From the moment you begin to understand that there is a connection between black people and the ancient Hebrews, you inevitably stumble upon an even more unsettling truth. A truth that is not merely on the surface of biblical texts, but pulsates between the lines, hidden like a code, sealed like a mystery, a spiritual decree. And this decree was not signed by human hands, nor proclaimed by earthly kings. It was established in the heavens, and since then, it has operated in history as a sentence that transcends generations. Yes, a spiritual decree, a released word that carries consequence, an invisible order that manifests itself in cycles of pain, oppression, slavery, identity confusion, cultural destruction, and spiritual silence. And the people under this decree may not even know it, because one of the deepest effects of this decree is precisely spiritual blindness. It's as if a fog prevents the descendants from seeing who they are. It's as if all the pieces are on the table, but the ability to assemble them has been removed. And this condition is not accidental. It is prophecy. In the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28, we find one of the most disturbing texts in all of Scripture. It speaks of the blessings that would come upon the people of Israel if they were faithful to the covenant with the Creator. But immediately following this comes the longest part of the chapter, the curses. And these curses are not metaphorical. They are direct, visceral, painful. The text says, "The Lord will scatter you among all the peoples, from one end of the earth to the other. There you will serve other gods, gods of wood and stone, which neither you nor your fathers have known." This doesn't sound like a metaphor. This sounds like a historical account. A people scattered, dispersed, lost among the nations, forgotten who they were, forced to serve strange gods, forgotten their name, their language, their land, their origin. And why? Because they broke the covenant, because they did not heed the commandments, because they turned away from the living God. And here is the point that many ignore. This decree of dispersion, this spiritual sentence, is still active for those who are descendants of the covenant people, but who still live as strangers in their own identity. The text continues saying, "You will be sold as slaves to your enemies, but no one will buy you." This is literal, and it's shocking. We're talking about a people who would be put on ships, taken to unknown lands, sold as merchandise. Can you think of another ethnic group besides enslaved Black Africans that lived through this exact experience on a global scale? And why isn't anyone talking about this in churches? Why aren't these passages taught in seminaries, from pulpits, in theological studies? Because there is fear. Because there is a system that knows what these words mean and what they evoke. When you recognize that Black people may be the direct descendants of the ancient Israelites, these curses cease to be merely biblical records of the past and become an accurate portrait of the pain of a people in the present. And that changes everything, because it shows that suffering is not genetic, not cultural, not an internal flaw. It is spiritual. It is part of a prophetic process. And even more, it is a sign that there is a promise greater than all that has been lost. Because if there was a decree of judgment, there is also a decree of restoration. But the first step is to recognize what brought us here. This hidden decree was not made to permanently destroy. It was released to discipline, to awaken, to prepare. But as long as these people do not recognize themselves, do not rise up, do not spiritually return to the covenant, the cycle will not be broken. That is why it is necessary to talk about this. It is urgent to bring this issue to light. Because most are still living as if all this were just coincidence, as if the collective pain of Black people were merely the result of chance, colonization, social injustice. But the root is deeper. The root is spiritual. The pain is prophetic. And this pain, despite being collective, has silently affected each individual. A young Black man grows up believing his destiny is limited. A Black woman is taught to reject her natural features. An entire family is conditioned to accept the oppressor's religion as if it were the only possible truth. This is not just oppression. This is spiritual programming. It is the side effect of a decree that removed consciousness, that traded identity for survival. And now it's time to break this cycle. But this breaking point doesn't come with shouting, nor with empty revolt. It comes with understanding. It comes with light. It comes with the revelation of truth. Because the truth once known sets free. And this truth is not being revealed now by chance. The prophetic clock is marking the end of a time. And the end of a time is not destruction, it is transition. It is when heaven changes season. And when God changes the season, he begins by awakening those who were sleeping under the weight of the old decree. The dispersion of the descendants of Israel was not merely geographical. It was spiritual. It was emotional. It was mental. And now, in this time, there is an invisible movement happening, a silent call, a breath that comes from the Spirit and that begins to touch those who have been forgotten, not by history, but by themselves. Because the greatest forgetting is that which happens when you no longer know who you are. But now memory is returning. The sound of the spiritual shofar is echoing in souls, and some have already begun to hear it. If you are hearing this call, even if subtle, even if confusing, this is a sign that the hidden decree that has kept you silent is beginning to be broken. And the word that comes now is no longer one of judgment, but of return. The time of dispersion is coming to an end, and the time of restoration is knocking at the door. If you feel that this decree has also touched your life, your family, your ancestry, and that something within you is awakening now, comment below. I break the decree. Declare this as a spiritual act. It's not just a phrase, it's a stance, it's a mark, it's a response to a calling that you may not understand with your mind, but that your soul has already recognized. And if you are here, it's because the time has come. And it is at this point in history, at this moment in time, that an inevitable question arises. If the hidden decree was activated and the dispersion of the chosen people was fulfilled throughout the centuries, then where are we now on the prophetic timeline? The answer is simple and terrifying at the same time. We are already living in the end times, but perhaps not in the way you learned in traditional sermons, nor in the spectacular way Hollywood portrays it. The end times don't begin with thunder in the sky or monsters rising from the earth. It begins silently, like a disease that spreads without visible symptoms. And when people finally realize it, they are already too involved to react. The signs are everywhere, and there are many. Wars, rumors of wars, famines, plagues, earthquakes, natural disasters, moral destruction, inversion of values, identity confusion, spiritual despair. All this is happening now, before our very eyes. But curiously, there are still those who say, nothing has changed. It has always been this way. This too was prophesied, that in the last days there would be scoffers who would mock the idea of judgment, as if everything were merely coincidence or the result of chance. But the Bible leaves no doubt. The world would not move towards spiritual evolution. The world, according to the scriptures, would collapse, and not just a physical collapse, but primarily a moral and spiritual one. Slavery, for example, never ended. It only changed form. What was once done with chains and slave quarters is now done with debt, addiction, mind manipulation, digital alienation, and control of the narrative. Black people, who were physically enslaved for centuries, are now kept in a state of mental and spiritual imprisonment. A system was created to ensure that, even free in body, they remain imprisoned in spirit. This is also part of the end times. An entire generation being led to live without purpose, without identity, without awareness of what is really happening around them. Look at the statistics, and you will see that those most affected by the silent wars of modernity are Black people. In the peripheries, they are the ones who die the most, who have the least access to health, security, and education. In hospitals, they are the last to be treated. In prisons, they are the majority incarcerated. In churches, they are the ones who surrender the most, who pray the most, who fast the most, but who remain without answers because they are searching within a religious system that has hidden the key to spiritual identity. This is disguised slavery. It is the literal fulfillment of the words, "And you will be the tail and not the head." It is written, and yet some say the end times are still to come. But how can we ignore the fact that hunger has returned on a global scale? How can we close our eyes to the rise in incurable diseases, emotional breakdowns, and modern epidemics that medicine cannot explain? The apocalypse is not in the future. It has already begun, within the human soul. When love cools, when empathy disappears, when the ego becomes the new God, when lies are normalized, that is already judgment in motion. The beast of the apocalypse is not just a mythological figure. It is a system, an empire of control, a structure that seduces with promises of freedom while chaining minds. And this system, once again, strikes the Black population with disproportionate force, because this population carries a spiritual heritage that disturbs the kingdom of darkness. Because even amidst the pain, there is a seed that has not been destroyed, and as long as it exists, the enemy will not rest. That is why the attacks are so intense. That is why the oppression is so systematic. That is why the media, music, fashion, education, everything is shaped to wound this identity, to distort the image, to silence the conscience. And many accept this as normal, because they were born into a world that is already on its judgment, but they were taught to call this progress. Have you ever noticed how the most popular songs today promote the worship of the body, money, and unrestrained pleasure? Have you noticed how the image of Black people in the media is almost always linked to stereotypes of violence, exaggerated sensuality, and ignorance? Have you noticed how the faith of Black people has been colonized, whitened, and disconnected from its roots? All of this is part of a grand plan, a plan that has already been revealed in the scriptures, but that few have wanted to see. The Babylon of Revelation is not just a physical city, it is a mentality, a culture, a network of domination. And this modern Babylon has already seduced nations. It has already made kings prostitute themselves with it. It has already contaminated spirituality with poison. It has already introduced false prophets, false doctrines, false gods. And those who should be the light of the world, the salt of the earth, are asleep, living on autopilot, inside temples but with their minds captive, performing religious rituals but distant from the spiritual essence. This is the cruelest slavery, the one that looks like freedom. Black people who have a prophetic calling have been the most affected by this new form of slavery. But this is not due to weakness. It is because these people carry something that others do not have. the sound of the desert in their bones, the memory of the Exodus imprinted in their blood, the pain of those who were chosen, but also rejected. And this disturbs the spiritual powers of evil. That is why their eyes are blind. That is why their ears are deaf. That is why there is so much noise, so that the voice of the Spirit may not be heard. But the times are changing. The heavens are announcing it. The trumpets are already sounding silently in attentive hearts. The earth groans. The Spirit whispers. And those who have been marked, even unknowingly, are beginning to awaken. And when this people rises up, it will not be with human weapons, nor with empty speeches. It will be with spiritual power, with restored identity, with the awareness that the end times are not the end of history. It is the beginning of the return to the origin, to the covenant, to the truth that sets free. If you feel that this time has already begun, that there's something in the air that can no longer be ignored, if you realize that the world is different, that things no longer make sense, that there's something spiritual happening behind it all, comment below. I see the signs. Write this down, not as just any comment, but as a declaration that your eyes are open, because whoever recognizes the time in which they live is already one step ahead on the path to restoration. If the signs are everywhere, then where is the proof? Where is the record of all this? Where are the documents, the writings, the evidence that confirm this connection between Black people and biblical prophecies? The truth is that the evidence has always been there, but it has been silenced, hidden, discredited, or ignored. Because when it comes to spiritual identity, especially the identity of Black people as prophetic heirs, everything that could reveal this truth has been carefully suppressed. And the reason is simple. There is power in knowing who you are, and there are systems that do not survive when that power awakens. If you study ancient records with a keen eye, you will notice numerous accounts, including those from respected historians, that mention the Hebrews as a dark-skinned people with Afro-descendant features. You will find accounts from European travelers who, upon arriving in West Africa, especially before the peak of the slave trade, described peoples with practices similar to those of the Jews. Groups that observed the Sabbath, practiced circumcision, maintained strict dietary customs, recited prayers at sunrise, and spoke of a single creator God, long before Christianity or Islam dominated the region. Who taught them this? And why were these accounts erased from history? The erasure was not accidental. It was intentional. Colonial empires knew they could not physically dominate for long if they did not first destroy the spiritual foundation. That is why they burned records, changed names, banned languages, and created a new religious standard that served the interests of the empires, not the truth. They knew that a people without a past is a people without a future, and that a people who forget their origins become easily manipulated. Even manuscripts considered forbidden, such as the apocryphal books, speak of this. There are texts hidden for centuries that reveal the journey of the children of Israel who would be taken to another land, far from their inheritance, and there they would live through the time of judgment. Books like Ezra, Enoch, Jasher, and others considered outside the official canon contain shocking information that was not in the interest of traditional religious structures. Because these books reinforce the idea that the dispersion was real, that identity was lost, but that a remnant would rise up at the end of times with its memory restored. It's curious to realize that the same religion that is taught with such zeal today by the descendants of Black people, institutional Christianity, was the tool used to erase their original identity. The same Bible that is used as a source of salvation was also used to justify slavery. Passages that speak of liberation were left aside, while texts that speak of servitude were highlighted. It was necessary to convince the people that this was God's will, and it worked. For generations, Black people learned to worship a God who seemed not to resemble them, a blonde, blue-eyed Messiah, a gospel that favored the oppressors. But even with all this effort to silence the truth, spiritual memory resisted, and now it is returning. There is a wave of awakening happening on every continent. Black people are studying, researching, returning to their roots, discovering ancient symbols, words, and names. They are freeing themselves from the European vision of faith and immersing themselves in the Hebrew, Afrocentric spiritual origins. They are understanding that they are not just followers, they are part of the lineage, that they are not just converts, they are called, and that changes everything. It is no coincidence that many black pastors, leaders, scholars, and theologians have been silenced, persecuted, or excluded when they began to teach this truth. How many men and women have been ridiculed for saying that black people have a direct connection to the biblical Hebrews? How many churches have expelled members who began to question the white images in stained glass windows? How many leaders have lost their pulpits because they dared to say that Jesus was not European? This silencing proves that there is something that needs to be hidden, because if it were a lie, it wouldn't bother anyone. If it were a conspiracy theory, it would be ignored. But the truth always causes discomfort. The truth has the power to break cycles, to liberate, and that is why it was locked away, disguised under dogmas, buried under traditions, erased from history books. But the time has come to dig, to rescue, to remember. Archaeology itself, when not manipulated, reveals objects, inscriptions, and representations of biblical figures with African features. Ancient mosaics, coins, artifacts, all of this points to a people with dark skin, curly hair, and black features. But these images are not the ones that appear in textbooks. What we see are idealized Roman and Renaissance representations, because the image of the black savior is unsettling, because it destroys the idea that Europeans brought light to a continent in darkness. In reality, they tried to extinguish the light that already existed. And we cannot forget that Western theology was shaped by men who never set foot in Africa, who despised black culture, and who would never accept the idea of a black people as the chosen people. Everything was constructed to maintain the distance between black people and spiritual protagonism. But that distance is now being shortened, because what was hidden is being revealed. What was silenced is being shouted from the stones. What was lost is being rediscovered in the subtext of history, in forgotten archives, in the prayers of the ancestors. This is the generation that refuses to accept inherited lies. It is the generation that is no longer content with false representations, with a faith shaped by political interests, with a selective Bible. It is the generation that is digging deep, searching for the origin, and is not afraid of what it will find, because deep down, something within each of them already knew, already felt, already carried this truth in their blood. If you've stayed with me this far and feel that these signs, these evidence, and these revelations are stirring something within you, comment below, "I am seeing the truth." Write this down. Mark this moment. Because when you acknowledge that you've been deceived for so long, you don't go back into the darkness. And this comment is a seed, a declaration that you're ready to keep digging, because there's still more to discover. And the next key is about to be revealed. You might even think, if all these truths were available, why weren't they taught? If there is historical proof, spiritual evidence, texts that speak of the true identity of black people as part of the tribes of Israel, why was all this ignored, hidden, or ridiculed throughout the centuries? The answer may seem simple, but it is much deeper than it appears. Truth hurts. Truth liberates. And above all, truth threatens. The spiritual truth about who black people are was not erased by chance. It was a coordinated action, built in layers, sustained by empires, religions, economic and political systems. It was a deliberate decision, because as long as a people doesn't know who they are, they can be molded, manipulated, and used as a tool in the construction of others' empires. Every structure of domination rests on three pillars: control of the narrative, control of knowledge, and control of faith. And black people have been, throughout history, distanced from all three. The narrative of their origin has been erased. Knowledge has been replaced by distorted versions of history, and faith has been colonized, disconnected from its Hebrew roots, and transformed into an instrument of blind obedience. It's painful to say this, but the gospel many of us received wasn't the pure gospel of Yeshua. It was a colonized version, adapted, manipulated, carefully edited to keep people under spiritual control. When European colonizers brought Christianity to the African colonies and the Americas, they weren't concerned with the salvation of souls. They were concerned with the subjugation of bodies. And for that, they used the Bible as an instrument of indoctrination. They cut out texts that spoke of justice, liberation, and resistance. They emphasized texts of obedience, silence, and submission to authority. They replaced the Messiah without beauty or comeliness with a European idol with blue eyes and golden hair. And they said, "This is your Savior. Worship him." Over time, churches have become reproducers of this model, even those founded by black people. Because the colonization of faith doesn't only occur through the skin color of the preacher, but through the content that is taught. Many black leaders continued to transmit a decontextualized Western European theology without questioning its origins. And thus, the truth was buried under centuries of imported liturgies, dogmas, and traditions. Spirituality was emptied. Identity was exchanged for emotionalism. And black people, who have always had a powerful spiritual connection, were taught to depend on intermediaries, to fear in-depth study, to accept everything without questioning. But who benefits from this ignorance? Who profits when a people does not know its true spiritual origin? The answer is clear: the system. The religious system that charges to keep people in the banks, but does not liberate them. The political system that takes advantage of alienation to manipulate votes. The economic system that needs a mass that consumes, but does not awaken. And more than that, the principalities and powers that operate in the heavenly realms and that fear the day when this people will rise up knowing who they truly are. Because a people without identity cannot resist, but a people who know their roots, their mission, and their heritage become uncontrollable. They do not bow to systems. They do not sell themselves for empty promises. They do not worship gods they do not know. They do not accept just any doctrine. They discern. They filter. They seek at the source. And what frightens the powers of this world most is a spiritually awakened black people, because this people carries within themselves a strength that does not come from academia, nor from politics, nor from economics. It comes from heaven, and this strength has been stifled for centuries. Have you ever stopped to think about why so many churches avoid talking about the real history of black people? Why they avoid associating the prophecies of Deuteronomy 28 with African slavery? Why they don't talk about the Hebrew traits of black African cultures? Because that would call into question the entire structure built up to this point. Because it would force many people to admit that they taught wrong for decades, that they misinterpreted, that they denied the obvious. And religious pride, often speaks louder than the truth. The theory of the colonized gospel is no longer a conspiracy theory. It is a historical fact, documented, lived, repeated, and maintained. But now, this cycle is beginning to break. We are living in a time where access to information is inevitable, where the Spirit is breathing on the dry bones, where sons and daughters are prophesying, where the forgotten are remembering, where the silenced are finding their voice. And this frightens those who have always relied on ignorance to maintain control. Many churches will resist. Many leaders will mock. Many will call it heresy, rebellion, deception. But the truth needs no approval. It stands on its own. And once someone knows it, they can no longer return to their previous state. It's like opening your eyes after years in darkness. You might even be startled by the light at first. It might hurt. But once you see, you can't unsee. And that's what's happening now to thousands of people around the world. The veil is being torn, not by men, but by God. And if you've made it this far, if something within you resonates with these words, if there's a discomfort that isn't pain but awakening, then perhaps you too are among those being called. Perhaps the manipulation of truth has worked until now, but it's no longer enough to keep you blind. Perhaps you're beginning to realize that the truth isn't in grand temples, on illuminated stages, or in rehearsed speeches, but in the subtext of history, in the voice of the Spirit, in the tears that no one sees. If this is your case, comment below. I reject the colonized gospel. Write it down, declare it, put it out there, because this simple act can trigger something in the spiritual world. It can be your first step towards complete freedom, not just emotional freedom, but spiritual freedom. The freedom of someone who finally knows who they are, where they came from, and where they are going. And this knowledge, no one will ever be able to erase it. Even with centuries of manipulation, with entire generations distant from their true identity, with distorted doctrines being taught as if they were the only possible truth, prophetic time does not fail. And it is precisely in this time, at this exact moment in history, that we are witnessing something extraordinary. A silent but powerful movement. A spiritual breath that is reaching black people in different parts of the world, and igniting in them a flame that has long been hidden but never extinguished. This flame is what many are calling spiritual awakening. It's not a fad. It's not a new doctrine. It's a return. It's as if souls are hearing a call that doesn't come from outside, but from within, as if something ancestral is being reactivated. You don't need grand temples, stages, or spotlights to realize this. The movement is internal. Ordinary people, black people, of different ages, with different backgrounds, are beginning to ask questions they never asked before. They are seeking to understand their spiritual roots. They are opening the scriptures with new eyes. They are returning to the Torah, to the commandments, to the essence of the original Hebrew faith, not as an oppressive religiosity, but as a reunion with the truth. It's as if the Spirit is breathing back the identity that was stolen. There are moving, profound accounts from people who always felt something was wrong, even when they were inside churches, even when they followed everything that was taught. It was as if a piece was missing, as if the faith they lived was true, but incomplete. And suddenly, upon hearing a different sermon, upon reading a verse from another perspective, upon researching their own history, a penny drops. And when that happens, there's no going back. The veil falls, the eyes are opened, and the heart burns. A burning that doesn't come from guilt, but from revelation. This is the time when Isaiah's prophecy is being fulfilled. The people who walked in darkness have seen a great light. This light is not new. It has always been there, but it was hidden under layers of lies. And now this people, scattered, devalued, mocked, but chosen, is rising up. Yes, getting up not through political force, nor through empty revolt, but through understanding. And understanding, when activated, unleashes a kind of power that the system cannot control. It's as if each person who awakens becomes a link connecting the past to the future, a link that carries within it the memory of those who were silenced, those who died without knowing who they were, those who resisted even without understanding why. And now, through this spiritual awakening, those ancient voices are echoing again. They are saying, "You are the people, not just any people, but the people whom the Creator called to be a light among the nations, the people who were separated but lost, the people who were punished but not forgotten, the people who would be restored in due time, and the right time has come." It is no coincidence that more and more black people are questioning European versions of faith, returning to the study of Hebrew, observing Shabbat, keeping the commandments, and seeking out the books that were removed from mainstream Bibles. They are moving beyond the surface and delving into the root. They are leaving behind the religion that silenced them and entering into the relationship that awakens them. They are understanding that they are not merely followers of a faith, they are descendants of a promise. And it is precisely this promise that is being fulfilled now, because the prophecy said that in the last days a people would rise up, a people forgotten by men, but remembered by God, a people scattered among the nations, but with their souls connected to Zion, a people without a land, but with a destiny, a people who passed through the fire, but were not consumed. This people has color. It has origin. It has pain, but it also has a mission. And the most beautiful thing is realizing that this awakening isn't tied to an organization, a leader, or a human movement. It's spontaneous. It's guided by the Spirit. It happens in silence, in the bedroom, in the early morning, while reading a verse, in the middle of a documentary, in an informal conversation. And when it happens, everything changes. The way you look at things changes. The way you pray changes. The way you walk changes. Because now, every step carries purpose. There are people who, after awakening, can no longer frequent the same places. It's not arrogance, it's awareness. It's as if the Spirit were saying, "This is no longer your place," because the truth, when it arrives, displaces. It takes you out of your comfort zone. It breaks with repetition, and it calls you to a new time. A time where you not only believe, you know. You recognize yourself. You reconnect. Movements are emerging in various parts of the world. Small groups are gathering to study the Torah. Entire families are changing their habits, reclaiming their surnames, teaching their children that their history did not begin in slavery. It began with a covenant. Men and women are redefining their faith, not as those who reject grace, but as those who understand that grace does not nullify the commandments. They are realizing that obedience and faith go hand in hand, that Yeshua did not come to destroy the Torah, but to fulfill it, and that denying the root is denying the fruit. This awakening is only beginning, but it is already visible. It is already causing discomfort. It is already breaking chains that seemed unbreakable. And most powerfully, it is being passed down from generation to generation. Children growing up already aware of their identity. Young people refusing to follow the blind religious system. Elders rediscovering the hope they had lost. This is not revolution. It is restoration. It is the fulfillment of the word that says, "I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit within you." If you are experiencing this awakening, even if you are still taking your first steps, comment below, "I am waking up." Write this truthfully. It doesn't matter if you still have doubts. It doesn't matter if you're at the beginning. What matters is recognizing that something has changed, that what didn't make sense before is now starting to fit, that your soul is responding to something greater than yourself. This comment isn't just engagement, it's a prophetic act. It's a step on the path to return. After everything you've heard so far, after every word that touched your spirit, after every revelation that may have shattered certainties and rekindled hope, I need to ask you a question that may seem simple, but carries enormous spiritual weight. A question that could turn a key within you, that could change everything. And the question is, could it be that you too are part of this group of people and didn't even know it? Could everything you've experienced so far, all the questions, all the restlessness, all the feeling that something was missing, actually be a disguised calling, a voice trying to remind you of who you are? Often, we walk through life feeling like we don't fit in. We attend services, sing the songs, follow the doctrines, read the Bible, pray, fast, but deep down, there's an emptiness, a discomfort that we can't explain, something that seems to say, there's more. And perhaps that more is precisely what has been denied to you since birth, your spiritual identity, the one that was erased, distorted, silenced, the one that no one taught you because, if you knew, you would become dangerous. Dangerous not in the sense of violence, but in the sense of liberation, because whoever discovers who they are no longer accepts being a slave. Whoever understands their origin no longer allows themselves to be manipulated. Whoever finds their roots begins to grow differently, and that's why this truth was hidden. But now it's returning. It's calling you. It's finding you amidst the rush of life. Maybe you don't even know how you came across this video. Maybe someone shared it. Maybe you were scrolling distractedly and something stopped you here. It wasn't by chance. It wasn't luck. It was an answer. You were called for this time. Yes, you, with your history, with your pain, with your doubts, with your scars. You were called not because you are perfect, but because you carry something the world tried to kill, the spiritual memory of the covenant people. You feel it, even if you can't yet explain it. You feel something pulsing within your spirit, something that cries out for identity, for truth, for reunion. And it is this cry that connects you to the calling. Throughout history, many have tried to silence this sound. Many accepted distorted versions, adapted, conformed. But there has always been a remnant, a small group, scattered but faithful, that even without knowing the correct name, even without understanding the details, kept the spark alive. And that spark reached you. It passed through generations of pain, through slavery, through cultural erasure, through colonized theologies, through a gospel that denied the black face of the Savior. It went through all of that, and now it burns within you. And do you know why this is so powerful? Because this awakening isn't collective all at once. It begins with individuals. It begins with someone like you, who stops for a few minutes and decides to listen, who allows the Spirit to blow where before there was only silence, who looks at the scriptures and sees not just a religious book, but an identity card, a map that shows where you came from, where you're going, and why you went through what you went through. You were chosen to break this cycle. You are not here by chance. The tears you have already cried, the days of confusion, the pain of not fitting in, all of this was preparing you for this revelation, because only those who have experienced the pain of forgetting can value the power of remembrance. Only those who have been enslaved can understand the value of freedom, and only those who have been deceived can feel the force of truth when it finally arrives. And now it has arrived. And it asks you, who are you? Not your legal name, nor your social security number, nor your role in the church. Who are you in eternity? What is your role in the prophetic history that is unfolding before our eyes? The Bible is not a distant book. It is a a reflection. It is speaking to you. It is speaking about you. It is calling you back, home, to the origin, to the covenant. And if you feel something different right now, if your heart is beating faster, if your eyes are welling up, if your mind is being challenged, that is the Spirit confirming it. Don't ignore this moment. Don't rationalize it. Just feel it. Allow yourself to be touched. Because this doesn't come from me. It comes from above. And the Word says, "Those who have ears to hear, let them hear what the Spirit says to the nations." This calling is real, and it is echoing now. You may have lived your whole life without knowing. You may have been born into a family that never talked about it. You may have been taught by leaders who didn't know this truth. But now you know. Now something has been activated. Now there's no going back. The question you need to ask yourself is, what am I going to do with this revelation? Am I going to ignore it? Am I going to hide? Or am I going to dive in? Am I going to seek it? Am I going to answer the call? Because the truth doesn't come to accuse you. It comes to awaken you. It comes to remind you that there is a purpose to your existence, that your skin tone, your ancestry, your history, all of this has a spiritual meaning. You are not an accident. You are part of a prophecy. You are part of a people who are rising up at the end, a people who are rediscovering their spiritual identity, who are breaking with the structures of lies and returning to the original path of living faith, obedience, and awareness. So stop now and look inside. Forget for a moment everything you've been taught. Forget religious labels. Forget your fears. And ask yourself, could I also be one of those people? Is that why everything in my life seemed meaningless? Is that why I always felt out of place in the systems? Is that why I felt something was missing from my faith? If this question is burning inside you, comment below. I was called for this time. Write this as a spiritual seal, as an act of courage, as a step on the path of return. This simple comment can be the starting point for the greatest journey of your life, the journey of returning to who you truly are, and to the eternal purpose that was written about you before the foundation of the world. If everything you've heard so far makes sense, if each part of this content has given you answers you've been searching for years, then the most important question of the moment now arises. What to do with all this? Because understanding alone is not enough. Action is necessary. Awakening is only the beginning. After opening your eyes, you need to take the first step. And that step is no longer inward, away from the religious system that has kept you blind for so long. Now it's a step outward, a step towards the truth. A step that, yes, may be uncomfortable at first, but that will take you exactly where you should be, at the center of your spiritual identity. The first thing you need to understand is that prepare yourself spiritually. It's not about memorizing verses, repeating ready-made phrases, or adopting a new religion. Spiritual preparation is about reconnecting with the truth. It's about letting the Spirit guide you back to the origin. And that origin is not in Western traditions. It's in the Torah, in the commandments, in the original covenant, in the eternal principles that were given to the people who are now awakening. If you are part of this people, and something within you has already confirmed this, then your path must begin with a return to the instructions of the eternal. The Torah is not a burdensome law. It is life. It is wisdom. It is protection. It is the map of the path. When Yeshua came, he did not come to annul that map. He came to show how to live that path in spirit and truth. But throughout the centuries, many have distorted his message, saying that grace annulled everything. And with that, they disconnected the people from their roots. But now, the time has come to return to the Sabbath, to return to the commandments, to return to obedience not as an obligation, but as an honor, as a response to the call. But make no mistake, this return requires renunciation, because it's impossible to live the truth while trapped in religious systems that hide that truth. You can't drink from the source and the sewer at the same time. Many temples, many churches, many leaders continue to operate as if nothing is happening. They pretend not to see the awakening. They ridicule those who begin to question. They reinforce outdated doctrines. They continue repeating dogmas, selling promises, keeping people spiritually captive. You will need courage to disconnect from this, and that, I know, hurts. Perhaps you've been serving in that church for years. Perhaps you have friends there. Perhaps your family is there. But the truth is, if that place is distancing you from your roots and trapping you in the system, then you need to leave. Not out of rebellion, but out of fidelity to the truth. It's not about changing signs. It's about breaking the cycle of lies, about stopping feeding structures that were built to keep you asleep. Because as long as you're there, listening to half-truths, participating in repetitive services, being prevented from thinking for yourself, you won't be able to move forward. And I'm not saying it's easy. It's not. Detaching yourself from religion is as difficult as leaving an abusive relationship. There's guilt, there's fear, there's insecurity. But on the other side of that fear is your freedom. And more than that, there's the revelation that will transform your home, your children, your entire life. You need to start studying for yourself, to immerse yourself in the scriptures as one seeks oxygen, to filter everything, to test everything, to ask for spiritual discernment above any human instruction. And here's a practical recommendation. Start with the fundamentals. Go back to the Torah. Read Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. Not with the eyes of religion, but with the heart of someone seeking identity. Observe the laws, the principles, the cycles. Ask yourself, why was I taught to ignore all this? Why was it said that this was a thing of the past? Then, read Deuteronomy 28 again, but now as a mirror. See if it isn't your story. See if it isn't the story of your ancestors. See if you aren't there. Also look for studies that discuss the connection between Black people and the tribes of Israel. Seek out serious materials. Look for ancient books, historical manuscripts, accounts from scholars who were silenced. Read the apocryphal books. They have much to say, especially the Book of Enoch and the second book of Ezra. You will see that what was taken from your Bible may be precisely what reconnects you to your identity. And most important of all, cultivate the presence of the Spirit, because it's not just about knowing facts. It's about hearing the voice. It's about entering the room, closing the door and saying, "Show me the truth." And He will show you, because He is looking for exactly people like you, sincere, tired of deception, thirsting for truth, willing to unlearn in order to be born again. It's a lonely path sometimes, but it's the only path that leads back to the eternal. Create new habits. Consecrate Shabbat. Even if no one in your home understands, begin. Stop eating what the Torah forbids, not out of religiosity, but out of obedience. Break alliances with pagan practices. Question the holidays we celebrate. Question the symbols. Question the music. Question everything. Because the religious system is full of subtle deceptions. And now that you know this, you can no longer walk as before. You will see that little by little, the Spirit will align you with people who are walking the same path. It will connect you with brothers and sisters who are also returning. It will form a spiritual community, even if scattered, that walks with purpose. Because the calling is individual, but the destiny is collective. And this restoration is underway now. The people are returning, and you have been called to be a part of it. And if you still feel fear, insecurity, or confusion, that's okay. The important thing is not to ignore the call. It's to begin. It's to take the first step. The Eternal honors every gesture of response. He said, "You will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart." So, seek, study. What was hidden is now being revealed. What was distorted is now being corrected. But only those who are willing to leave their comfort zone will receive all that is being poured out in this time. If you're ready to start this journey, comment below. I'm going back to my roots. Write this as a personal vow, as a spiritual milestone, as a commitment, because this comment isn't just for engagement, it's a declaration before heaven, and whoever declares with faith attracts movement. The spiritual world responds to action, and the first step is this: recognizing that there is a path to follow, and deciding to no longer ignore the direction. If you've made it this far, it's because something inside you is being awakened. This is not a coincidence. It's purpose. It's confirmation. And if this video spoke to you on any level, if it confronted you, inspired you, propelled you forward, or simply made you think differently, then don't let it pass you by in silence. Subscribe to the channel now, because we're going to delve much deeper into truths that have been hidden for centuries. Turn on notifications so you don't miss the next videos. This is just the beginning. And comment below right now. I stayed until the end because I was marked by this truth. Write this in the comments. That way I know who is walking with me to the end, who not only listened, but was truly touched. If this video made sense to you, leave your like, because this helps this message reach more people who need to wake up, just like you. And now, it doesn't stop here. Watch the next video that is appearing on your screen, because it will take you even deeper down this path of revelation and return to your origins. See you there. Shalom.